What's going on, all you beautiful viewers out there, all you beautiful sports fans? Welcome back to the second installment of Cold Takes from the Land.
Cold Takes from the Land, where you get the coldest takes from the hottest Cleveland sports fans.
Oh yeah, baby. Love to hear it. And today we got our little preview here of a big game coming up on Sunday. We got the Cleveland Browns once again at home, coming off of an absolute domination of the Tennessee Titans. And today, or not today I should say, but Sunday, we got Baltimore coming to town, buddy.
Yes, we do. And Baltimore is always a tough one. I'm hoping we can kind of hang in there and fight them off considering all the injuries. But I'm hoping this should be, hopefully, if Deshaun plays, a pretty easy victory, but we'll see how it goes.
Yes, that is one thing that I guess we can start off with and we can comment on. The injury report for this is kind of insane.
Yeah, it's a laundry list of players for sure.
Yeah, Baltimore's always really hurt, which I feel like it's them and the Chargers are just constantly injured, but I don't know.
Yeah,
but
Baltimore's been real bad the last two seasons for sure. They had weren't they the one team that lost all of their running backs within the first 5 weeks of the year, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, because obviously they lost J.K.
Insane.
They just lost J.K. Dobbins again, which that sucks.
Again.
But
yeah, it's tough coming back as a running back. Isn't that his second ACL injury?
So his first one was ACL, and this one was Achilles. So
oh, damn.
Yeah, that sucks pretty hard. But with that, they have, obviously, we already know about J.K. Dobbins. Marlon Humphrey's not playing. David Ajabo's not playing. Is Ronnie Stanley confirmed out?
Ronnie Stanley is doubtful, so not confirmed yet, but doubtful.
Right, and then also guys that are questionable. I mean, Tyler Linderbaum, who's another really good offensive lineman for them. Both their safeties, Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams. That's a pretty big laundry list, like you said. And with the Browns, it's just kind of one that is the big issue is Deshaun Watson has barely thrown this week at practice due to a nagging shoulder injury. Now, he's listed as questionable on the injury report, but apparently Mary Kay talked to him in the locker room after practice, and he was very adamant about that he was going to play, so I feel like it's safe to assume he's going to play. I'm also going to kind of come at this as if Hamilton and Williams, pretty much all the questionable guys, I'm going to come at it and assume as they're playing. What do you kind of think about this Deshaun Watson thing? I think it's a little weird that nothing really showed up about it until this morning.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was going to say we didn't hear anything throughout the entire Friday rolls around. Or that I think he threw 2 passes and then kind of just took mental reps at practice today, and then I think he threw a couple light passes afterwards after practice was done. But definitely concerning. I think it's from a hit when I think it was a QB draw where he ran it last week against Tennessee. He went up the middle and kind of blasted the safety, put his shoulder down. So I'm thinking that's where he got hurt because I kept seeing videos of that.
Right.
But I think he'll play. It's just a matter of what he can actually do out there. I don't want him to re-aggravate anything.
Yeah, because obviously we already dealt with the shoulder stuff with Baker Mayfield a couple years ago. Now, that was obviously a very different situation, but the fact that he barely practiced, I feel like that tells me one of two things. One, they're either being really safe and just don't want him to aggravate it going into the game, or the other story, which is hopefully not what's happening, which I don't think this is what's happening, is that it's really, really bothering him and he's having a really hard time, and they're just trying not to expose it too much. So I don't know. I kind of hope it's the lesser of those two options, but I feel good about it. Luckily, Watson, unlike Baker, not that I want to poop on Baker or something. Baker's a smaller quarterback. He's shorter, smaller in stature, so obviously big hits like that take more of a toll on him. Whereas Watson is a bigger guy, so I feel like he would be able to withstand. I feel like he'd be able to withstand that a little more. But enough on the injuries. Let's get to the game portion of this. General stats.
Let's do it.
General stats I'll go over before we get into the nitty-gritty. Just general stats. The Cleveland Browns are averaging 386 yards a game to the Baltimore Ravens 360. We slightly edge them in passing yards by about 20 yards, and then we edge them by 2 yards a game in rushing. Now, as for yards allowed, obviously the story of the year so far, the Browns are only allowing 188 yards a game, and they're only allowing, I think it's something average 7 points a game on the defensive side of the ball, and they're only allowing 52 yards a game on the ground and only 136 yards a game through the air, which is absolutely great. The Ravens, they're not doing as well against the pass. They're averaging about 230 yards allowed against the passing game, which isn't bad, but it's not a great either. But they're only allowing 92 yards a game against the rush, which is also very, very solid.
Definitely. I was going to say with the Ravens, too. I didn't even realize until you started rattling off some of the stats there. I didn't realize our offenses were basically identical outside of a few yards here and there.
Yeah, and I think that's quite literally just by design, just because there's more designed runs out of Lamar Jackson. I almost said Deshaun Watson, as compared to Deshaun Watson, and also Deshaun is just throwing the ball more than Lamar. So yeah,
right.
it's
which we're
going to
need
really
this week. I think I don't want to see as many QB sneaks. I don't want to see a lot of, especially if he's got a bad shoulder. So we'll kind of see how they play to that.
For sure, yeah, we don't want that issue with the bad shoulder, but. The way we decided to kind of break this down this week is we just, we touched on the injuries there. So we're just going to give it nice and easy, kind of coming up with 3 keys that we each have for a Browns victory, and we feel like that'll sum it up the best. So I'll swing it over to you. What are your 3 keys to victory for the Browns this week?
So the first one I had is limit Mark Andrews, especially with them being down a couple receivers here, with Odell being gone, with Bateman being officially out. If we can limit him, I mean, he's really the only person on the offense that I'm scared of, and he's a big red zone threat. So if we can limit him, that'll definitely go far and us win that game this week.
For sure. He's killed us in the past.
My second point, yeah, he killed. I mean, at the game we went to years ago, too, just same thing. Whenever he needs a target, he looks straight to Mark Andrews, and he usually hits him. So.
Yeah, literally.
My second point is pressure and contain Lamar. Obviously, 2 very important things. It's going to be more so contain him, pressure him. If we can get sacks on him, great. But with him, you really want to limit what he can do as far as running. I think we looked today, and he had 33 design runs this year, I think. So already he has close to 200 rushing yards. So got to limit him in the pocket. Got to keep him behind the line of scrimmage as much as we can. So that was my second point. And lastly, I had for us, this is a big thing, get others besides Cooper involved. I want to see Njoku. Elijah Moore had a couple catches again last week, which is great. I want to see him get more yardage, though. Mm-hmm. And I think you brought up DPJ. I really want to see him start to get involved in this offense a little bit more. So
yeah,
I want to see some other people besides Cooper get involved, whether that be either one of those 2 guys, the 2 running backs we have, maybe even throw Tillman in there.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. You kind of hit the nail on the head with a couple of those points. As for me, I kind of have similar thoughts to you. My first key to winning the game, which I'm glad I'm not stealing your ideas here because I got some original ones, luckily. My first key is to mix up the run game, and that's not necessarily, I don't mean that as in mix up the run in the pass. I mean mix up what kind of runs we're throwing at them. Baltimore's always been a really solid defense, even when they're banged up. They play tough. They got great linebackers. They have a solid front four. I don't think it's quite as good as it used to be, but they got Jadeveon Clowney there, who's a really good run stopper. Obviously, they're super banged up, and David Ajabo's not playing, so we don't have to worry about that as much. But they still got the really solid interior, so I feel like we need to keep them honest, and not only mix up who's running the ball. I want to see design runs out of Watson. I want to see Kareem Hunt in there. I want to see Ford. I even want to see Pierre Strong at times. I want to see more of Elijah Moore in the backfield here and there. Throw some jet sweeps in there, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to... Because I think we're more of a threat to throw the ball nowadays, especially compared to last year with Jacoby Brissett, because of how limited he is in terms of his skill set. I feel like if we mix up the ways we run the ball, it can really throw that Baltimore defense off. And like I just pointed out, their linebackers are excellent. Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith, I mean, that's probably the best linebacking core in football. I mean, I can't really think of one off the top of my head right now that bests that. But with that, they are both very instinctive linebackers. So I feel like if we can get some counter, a little bit of misdirection going with these run plays, I feel like we can definitely cause a little bit of havoc and get some of those guys off balanced. We don't have Nick Chubb for the rest of the year, so we're not going to be able to just pound the rock with him. We got to get more creative, So, I feel like that's a big one that maybe some people aren't thinking about, because I feel like some people are kind of just chalking up to the run game's just not that great anymore, which it might not be, but I think it's worth a shot to really mix up the run game, and I feel like that's something Stefanski's really good at. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, no, you kind of rambled there. You're good, though. I was going to say, I think I completely agree with what you're saying. I want to see, I've watched a lot of Philadelphia this year, and I noticed they run a lot out of the shotgun, so I want to see us some shotgun. It's very obvious, even last super obvious whenever we're running. We throw 3 tight ends out there still, and we're not fooling anybody. And when you have Nick Chubb, you can get away with that because he's the best back in the league. But when you don't, if you have Jerome Ford out there and Kareem Hunt, we can't be showing those looks with 3 tight ends and make it so obvious that we're going to run every single time.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So yeah, that was kind of my number one thing, just because I felt like it was something that some people weren't thinking about. My second key is keep Watson protected. This is a big one. One of Watson's attributes that I think hurt him at times is because he's good at extending plays. Sometimes he's a little quick to do it. We saw that a lot in the Pittsburgh game, where he was kind of bailing out of the pocket like a hair early when he didn't necessarily need to. Missed a couple opportunities where he could have stepped up and delivered a ball over the middle or down the field. So I think this is a big game where, yes, the line's beat up a little bit for the defense of the Ravens, but they still got some guys there that can cause a little bit of problems. So we need to chip on DeJuan Jones' side as much as we can to help him out. We need those interior guys that we already know are stalwarts of this line. We need them to be, as best as they can and help out Jed Wills as much as we can. Because while I don't think Wills has been terrible, we know how Jedrick Wills is. He's an average tackle who makes 2 or 3 stupid ass decisions a game in terms of just his technique and whatnot. So we have to limit. We
definitely don't love his effort.
Yeah, we have to limit that as much as we can. So I think the number one thing is the pass protection has to be on point. Let's get chips from the running back, chips from the tight end. I don't feel like we have to max protect, because I don't think the line is that big of a threat. It's not like we're playing Philly or San Fran, but at the same time,
right.
We need to be on our P's and Q's, because we don't want Watson under a bunch of pressure all game, because as we saw against Pittsburgh, that caused a lot of problems, and it makes the offense stall a bit.
Right. So even last week, he played well. He even had the one play where he kind of backed up out of the pocket a bit and tried to make something happen. He kind of was pushing a little bit too hard and chucked the ball back. He did a backwards lateral to Jerome Ford, I think it was, and threw the ball 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, that was something.
Just stuff like that, when things aren't going well, stuff like that can happen. And when you're trying to make stuff happen out of nowhere and you're getting pressured all the time, I think, like you said, if we can kind of shore up a bit there, help out Jed Wills as much as we can, that'll go a long way in kind of keeping Deshaun healthy.
100%.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest things coming out of this game this week. If we can get and keep Deshaun Watson healthy going into the bye week, that's what we need to do. We need to keep the team as healthy as we can moving forward.
Right, yeah, and that's something I forgot to even mention there when I was talking about protecting Deshaun, is obviously with this injury as well. We really don't want taking any big hits. So yeah, that's another one.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of pocket passing from Deshaun this week. I don't think we're going to see a lot of design runs, hopefully.
Right, yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was pretty much my second point, and my last point, kind of the obvious one. Got to contain Lamar Jackson. 100% agree with you there. And I also kind of agree with, I don't know if we should necessarily blitz Lamar Jackson. I think it's more so got to keep him contained, set the edges well, throw a spy up there at linebacker. Obviously, you don't really want to reserve JOK to just being a spy, because that takes him out of being in coverage. So maybe throw it on Anthony Walker, or even Taki to just literally make it their job to spy Lamar Jackson so he doesn't break free. But at the same time, I don't want to send a lot of blitzing at him, because let's say we get off the edges really well and Miles and Za'Darius are closing the gap, but because the blitzing is getting so much depth, that could open up the middle of the field, and that's where Lamar Jackson could just step up and run, and that's a 20-30 yard chunk, because there's only one Lamar Jackson in the league. I mean, he's such a hard guy to contain.
Now that he has this rookie receiver too, this speedster, you really got to keep an eye out. So if he doesn't take off, you might look for this kid.
Yeah, Zay Flowers. Yeah, he's a really talented kid that he could definitely cause some problems too. I'm more confident about that matchup just because our corners are so good. But obviously things can break open when Lamar Jackson's back there running around making fools look silly. So I feel like we should just rush 4, maybe 5 sometimes, but I don't want to see any crazy blitzing or anything, because this is a team where you don't want to blitz. There's teams for example, they always say you don't want to blitz Mahomes, you don't want to blitz Brady, you don't want to blitz Rodgers, because they'll just find the open man and tear you apart that way. Whereas Lamar's in the vein of Michael Vick, or even in today's terms Kyler Murray too, where you don't want to blitz him, because all he has to do is find the one pocket of opening and he'll just take off because he's so damn elusive. So
with the Ravens having a couple offensive linemen that are a little bit banged up, I think we can get away with rushing 4 and kind of doing what you were saying as far as containing Lamar. If we blitz him, you don't want to give up the open field to have him rush for a touchdown or kind of get any big chunk plays, which he's known for, especially against us. So you kind of need to be wary of that as you move forward.
For sure, yeah. And then that's just like I said, that's such a big thing with Lamar just because of his elusiveness. But for me, I think that kind of sums up at least the 3 main keys we have in terms of how we can beat this Ravens team. I think we kind of touched on everything, to be honest. The only other thing I could really think of is you kind of brought up Zay Flowers earlier. He's kind of an X factor just because, like you said, he's such a speedster. He's very agile and elusive, so he's a guy that you don't want to break open the game. But outside of that, I think we hit everything on the head there. Is there anything else you want to add about game plan-wise before you get into our official predictions?
No, I think we covered most of it. With the Ravens and these divisional teams, we've seen them enough to where we kind of know what the game plan's going to be, so we know who we got to watch out for. So
right, for sure.
I think we kind of hit the nail on the head with those.
Right, for sure. But yeah, man, as I'd say with that, let's get into our score predictions here. How you feeling?
I am feeling, as of right now, if Deshaun plays, I'm going to say 28-17 Browns win.
Nice. I noticed you said there if Deshaun plays, so you got some thoughts on if, for whatever reason, DTR ends up coming out there?
Yeah, if DTR is in, I still think it'll be close just because our defense is so dominant right now that I think they're going to keep us in most games. But if DTR is thrown out there, we kind of touched on this morning a bit. A very bad game to kind of throw him out there for his first actual official NFL regular season game. You don't want to throw him out there against those quick linebackers. If he does play, I think the Ravens will etch one out. I think it'll be 17-14 Ravens if Watson does not play.
Right. Okay. I like that. So, for me, obviously barring Deshaun Watson plays, I'm actually really similar to you, which is what's really funny. I'm thinking 27-20.
Okay.
With a win for the Browns. For a little while, I was kind of leaning Ravens because I want to be fair. I don't want to just say we're going to win every game. But with these injuries, I just feel good about it. So I'll say 27-20 Browns. I just think we'll be able to limit them enough with Lamar Jackson. I think we'll get a couple big throws out of Watson that'll put us over in the end. If we happen to see DTR out there, I didn't really have a score in mind, but I can come up with one off the top here. I'll say 23-13 we lose if we see DTR out there. Like if he ends up playing, or say like Watson bangs up his shoulder early or something like that. But that's not what we hope, obviously.
Right, God, that's the last thing we need.
Yeah,
It'll
literally.
be a very, very somber podcast if that happens.
Yeah, God, we'd be like, hey guys, our quarterback's dead. Anyway, but
our quarterback's down. 2-15, here we come.
Oh, jeez, Lord, I don't even want to think about that. I don't. You know what? We're going to move on. With that, that's our predictions and our thoughts on the Browns game. But we're going to give you guys a little bonus here for the last couple minutes. We're just going to run through the Sunday games real quick and just give our general thoughts and predictions. And I just thought of this right before we started recording. I think I'll keep track of these picks we make and put our little records on how well we're doing with our picks every episode, so the friendly viewers can see if we're idiots or if we actually know what we're talking about here. But
a little bit of both. That'd be fun, though. I was going to say, I think we should definitely mark it down. That way one of us has bragging rights.
Right, for sure. So, obviously, the Detroit and Green Bay game already happened. Detroit got the dub there. I honestly probably would have went with Detroit, but I'm not going to, take credit there or something like that.
Right.
But I'll just name them off in order, and we'll just get going. So, first things first, we got our first London game of the year. We got Jacksonville, technically the home team, even though it's in London. And they are playing the Atlanta Falcons at 9:30 a.m. at the crack ass of dawn. How you feeling about that one?
Yes, they are. I forgot about that. So I'm going to add that to my list here. I'm going to say Jacksonville wins that one. They've kind of had a rough start this year. I know Trevor Lawrence kind of gets off to slow starts the last couple seasons, but I'm going to say they eke one out in London because time they get that offense rolling.
Right, for sure. Nope, I 100% like your point, but I'm going to be a little different from you. I think Jacksonville will start to get going a little bit better, but Atlanta's defense likes to fight, and I really like their run game. I'm a big fan of Bijan Robinson, and I think they'll be able to limit the Jacksonville offense enough. I actually think Atlanta squeaks this one out in a little bit of an upset.
Okay, interesting.
Next,
I'm going to say Atlanta's a good team, so
yeah,
I can
for
see
sure.
that.
And next up is probably the game of the week. We got Buffalo at home with Miami coming off of a 70-point win against Denver, which was just absolutely insane.
Yeah, definitely. This is game of the week, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I'll go first on this one. For me, I think Buffalo's tough, and they got a good defense. They're not going to let Miami put 70 up on them, but I have no reason to doubt Miami right now. They might be the best team in the AFC, even though I love my Browns, and the Chiefs are coming off a Super Bowl win. I'm going to go Miami. I think they win by, say, 7 to 10 points, and I think it'll be a tougher game, but I'm going Miami this one.
Yeah, I'm going to echo the same sentiments there. I think even though they're not going to give up nearly as many points, I just think that Dolphins offense is too potent. So I think Miami comes away with an easy win there.
Yep, for sure, for sure. Easy win. I like that. All right.
Yeah,
Next.
I'm thinking 14 to 18 points they win by.
Okay, I'll keep that one in mind. Next up, we got one of the snooze fests of the week. We got Chicago at home with Denver coming to town. 2-0-3 poo-poo-poos. So who do you think gets their O gone?
Oh, man. I'm going to say Broncos get a win here.
Yeah,
probably
I
be an
agree.
absolutely horrendous game. I mean,
Yeah.
whoever watches this, God, I feel bad for Bears fans and freaking not Saints fan, but Broncos fans at this point. But I think the Broncos probably get a win by a touchdown or so, I'm going to say.
Yeah, I
I'm going to
agree.
trust Sean Payton on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I got the Broncos in that one as well. I think Chicago's probably going to be one of the bottom 3 teams in the league. But with that, we got
It might be the worst again. Never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a little hot take about them, but I'm not going to say it. I'll save that for a future video. But with that, we got Tennessee at home, coming off of getting absolutely clobbered by the Browns. This week they got the other Ohio team. They got Cincinnati going into Tennessee for this one. I think Tennessee plays them tough, but as long as Tannehill's in there, I think they're so limited, and I think the Bengals defense is better than it's been the last couple years. The offense has been super weird and like not getting off to good starts, but I trust them to win this one because they really need it, especially in this AFC North. They're going to need as many wins as they can get, so I think Cincinnati pulls this one out.
Yeah, I agree with you there as well. We've seen both of these teams against our Browns. Obviously, the Bengals haven't been the best the first 2.5 games of the season, but they kind of got that offense rolling last week. So with the limits they have on offense, I think Derrick Henry might have his biggest game of the year yet, but I still don't think that'll be enough to overcome the 3 weapons that they have in Joe Burrow. So I'm going to go Bengals on that one. For
sure. Yeah, next up we got Indianapolis at home playing the Rams. This one's kind of an easy pick for me because even with Anthony Richardson being back in the lineup, Indianapolis just has so many holes everywhere. I personally just think I'll just take the well-coached Los Angeles Rams team to beat them pretty handily.
This is actually one of my upsets, so I am going to go Colts over Rams. I've only watched one Rams game. I think it was this week, but Rams still just really haven't been impressing me too much. Cooper Kupp is going to be out. So, I mean, Matt Stafford's been good, so I think the Colts will lean on that. I think they're going to be able to get it done there.
Right. Yeah, I like it. We'll differentiate on that one. We'll see how that pays off come Monday. Next up, we got our old buddy Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to New Orleans to play the Saints. This one, I think this one's going to be a pretty good game. I feel like it'll be just a little bit of a back and forth, but I am going to take New Orleans at home just because I think they have coaching on their side, and I just think their defense will be able to make Baker make enough mistakes that I think they'll squeak out like a 3-point win. I'll say like a game-winning field goal at the end or something like that.
There you go. So I have the same thoughts, but I think the Bucs are going to win by a field goal. So I'm going to take Baker in a close game there. So we actually differ on that one a bit too.
Yeah, I'm rooting for my boy Baker. It's just how I feel.
Yeah.
Next up,
I think he'll lean on the defense a bit there, and Carr will kind of have a medium. So I think they'll be able to get it done.
Okay, so you kind of feel the same, just a little bit vice versa, like on the flip side.
Pretty much, yeah.
But next up, we got this one I think is kind of an easy one. We got Philly at home. They got Washington coming to town. I think Washington can be interesting. Sam Howell, he can do some interesting things, and they got a good running back, but I think Philly steamrolls them.
Yeah, I think we both had the same one there. That's one of the easier picks for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So that one's
although Washington is tough. I mean, their defensive front's very, so you never know. I think they lost one to Washington last year, didn't they? Wasn't that Washington first? I think that was Philly's first loss last year, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I don't want to.
Yeah, but I still think Philly will win. I mean, it's one of those divisional matchups, so you never really know how it can go. If Philly kind of comes out a little lackluster, they can always get them that way. But I still think Philly has too much firepower on offense and defense.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And then next up, this one's actually kind of an interesting one. This one could be a snooze fest, but this could also be an interesting game. We got Carolina.
Don't you say Cardinals beat Niners?
No, I am not saying that. Good God. But we got Carolina at home, and they got Minnesota coming to town for this one. I don't know. How you feeling?
Another matchup of 0-3 teams. I'm going to say Vikings probably squeak this one out. I mean, Panthers, along with the Bears, I honestly think the Bears might even have better weapons than the Panthers do. I just don't think the Panthers have much going for them right now besides Bryce Young. I think
Right.
they're going to end up being a bottom 3 team in the league, so I think Vikings. I think Kirk's going to get his first win, so I think they're going to be moving to 1-3.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I actually 100% agree with you. I just think Minnesota's got the experience, so I'll say Minnesota squeaks that one out as well. But next one, we got our old friends Pittsburgh. They're traveling to Houston, and I'm going to be a homer. I am picking Houston at home. I say C.J. Stroud throws for 550 yards and 7 touchdowns.
There you go. I hope you're right. I think I kind of like went back and forth on this one just because I'm like C.J. Stroud's had a couple 300-yard games. I'm like I wanted to pick the Texans, but my mind's telling me Steelers, so I'm going to stay with that.
Yeah, that's probably the correct pick, but, fuck the Steelers.
Hey, I was going to say heart over mind sometimes, buddy.
For sure. Next one, we got a team that's two teams that are having just awful starts to the year. We got the Chargers at home, and they got the Raiders coming to town. This one, I feel like this one's going to be kind of sloppy, but I'm going to take the firepower of the Chargers offensively. I think the Chargers will get a win there.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Have they said if Jimmy G is going to play yet? I know he was in protocol for the last couple days.
I'm not sure, but I'll be honest, I don't think it really changes my thoughts either way. Jimmy G's so limited, and he's not in an offense like he was in San Fran where he can be a little bit sheltered, and it's kind of showing. He's already thrown more interceptions this year than he did the entire year last year, so yeah.
Right. The Chargers defense is always weird, though. They have so much talent, and Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack just have really not lived up to the billing there recently, so...
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree for sure. Next up, we got another one. This is I'll say this is my number 2 game of the week behind Buffalo and Miami. We got Dallas at home coming off of an embarrassing loss to Arizona after having 2 really good weeks. And they got New England coming to town. So we got the Patriots at Dallas. I'll let you go first on that one as well.
So I have an upset on this one. I think the Patriots are going to eke one out here. I think Ezekiel Elliott's probably going to have somewhere between like 15 to 18 carries. Being back in Dallas too, I think they're having some kind of ceremony for him, just kind of honoring what he did. So I think he's going to want to get out there and get them a win and get them back to 2-2. So I think the Patriots are going to get a win here.
For sure. I actually completely agree. This is I'll call it my upset of the week. I think New England's going to go into Dallas and beat them. I just think it's going to come down to New England's defense just playing really well. I think they're going to give Dak Prescott problems, and I just think Belichick's going to outcoach Mike McCarthy. So I just think I just like New England in that one. These next
Let's hope so.
Yeah, for sure. These next 2 games are some stinkers, so I think we can wrap these ones up pretty quick. We got Arizona at San Fran, and then we got Kansas City at New York. I think we know who we're picking for both of those.
Yes, sir. I was going to say we pretty much have the same picks there.
Yeah, San Fran claps and Kansas City claps. Can we agree with that?
Yep, I agree. If Aaron Rodgers was there, it would be a different game. It would be one of the better games of the week, but having Zach Wilson, he just doesn't have enough to get it done, so...
For sure. Yeah, those are poopy games. And it sucks that the one Sunday night football, like you don't want a primetime game that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't predict those kind of things with the injuries, so
yeah.
I assume coming into the season, it was probably one of their better matchups they had planned out on paper, but
yeah,
you know how things go.
Yeah, but last game of the week, speaking of primetime games, which this one isn't so great either, but we got Seattle, who I believe is 2-1, going into New York to play the New York Football Giants. This one's a little bit interesting to me. I like Brian Daboll, their head coach of the Giants. Not a big Daniel Jones guy, but how you think that one plays out?
I think the Seahawks are going to absolutely mollywop them.
You're gonna say blowout.
Yeah, I'm going to say a blowout. I mean, I don't even think Giants fans are big fans of Daniel Jones, so he's very limited in what he does. Saquon's already kind of banged up this year. I think Seattle just has too many weapons for you.
Right,
and
for sure.
You kind of touched on it earlier. Like, I don't know why this second or third primetime game. I know they played the Cowboys already. Like, why are the Giants so many primetime games this season?
I don't know. The NFL must have thought they were going to be a real something. But I agree with you.
It's a snooze fest.
Yeah, I'm picking Seattle. I think it'll be a closer game just because New York's really well coached and that defense is pretty solid. So I think they can make some things happen. But I'm going to go Seattle on the road for this one. And with that, that's about it. We got all our predictions we got pretty much all our thoughts out there for the Browns game for everyone to hear. We got our predictions for the rest of this slate of the NFL games coming up this weekend, and we're going to find out how wrong we are come Monday morning, or I guess I should say Tuesday morning with the Monday night game. But that's pretty much everything we got for you guys today. We really appreciate all you guys for watching. I think we're a little in the 20s for the amount of views for the last video. We appreciate each and every one of you, even though 20 of them are probably just me on different accounts. I'm just kidding. But
he's got all his burner accounts ready to go to watch her to rack up the views.
Oh yeah, gotta get subscribers somehow, buddy. But that's pretty much everything we got for you guys. Somewhere. Yeah, for sure. But we appreciate you guys for listening. We hope we can build up fan base more and more, and we hope you guys can enjoy some Cleveland sports fans that, while we are a little bit psychotic in the brain, I feel like we have some decent insight for you guys while we touch on our Brownies. And like I said, we'll have a Guardians video coming out here soon with their season coming to the end, unfortunately, which we'll get into that when we get to that. And then obviously we got the Cavs coming soon, so we'll have a lot of content ready to come out, and we're just going to keep on chugging along. So with that, it's been Cold Takes from the Land, and we will see you in the next one.
Cold Takes from the Land.